Hello everybody! Welcome to like one of the last videos of the year. I probably won't have my December vlog up before January, but if you talk about my Zet, you're anti-me, and that's a whole lot of identities. I just don't want you to be in trouble, okay? So don't talk about my Zet. Welcome to me talking about just some of the books in brief that I really love this year, and I highly recommend, if you have not read them already, for you to read in the new year. These are all books in the fantasy sci-fi category, and this will be the last time that I'm blending age groups. After recent things that have happened on Twitter, it occurs to me that I need to make sure that I'm doing what I can for young readers and people looking for books for young readers. Because I tend to curse a lot, because of that, I tend to mark all of my videos not safe for children. I've done this since that became a rule on YouTube. Every single one of my videos is marked not safe for children. What I'm going to start doing is making specific videos talking about middle grade and lower YA books that are appropriate for children to watch, and it'll make it easier for people with children in their care to find those books. So that's the only change coming about content in the new year. Also, I know the construction's being a paid actor right now. No peace. No peace. But what I'm going to do is just talk to you about some of my favorites from the year and books that I think that you should for sure be reading. Let's get into it. Oh, one of these is a cozy mystery. Okay, so I want to start with The Vanquishers by Bayron. I love this book so much. I was on a middle grade kick for a large part of this year. And The Vanquishers is like one of my faves of the year because it has my favorite trope, which is kids on bikes. I'm a former kid on bike. I'm also a Creek kid. If you watch Crack of the Creek, you'll know what I'm talking about. But this involves this group of kids on the cover here, and one of them goes through something very traumatic, and the others find out that their parents are kind of really cool, but also they've been lying to them. And that's not cool, parents. So I really like this book. I highly advise you read it. It might have some scary elements. So do be aware of that. I still found it very fun, and I am kind of a chicken pot pie, but this didn't necessarily scare me as much as I was like, not the kids! So do it that way you will. Amari and the Great Game. So Amari and the Night Brothers 2, basically, by B.B. Alston. Absolutely adore Amari. I'm a huge Amari fan. I believe in the Amari to breed to a Kenna pipeline. That is what it is. Now, in this book, the stakes are higher, obviously. There's a whole lot of talk about, like, is Amari dangerous because she's a magician? Or is she just Amari? Now, I wanted to strangle every single adult in this book. I could not believe the amount of like dismissal, prejudice, and BB writes it in such a way that is not, some people will say heavy-handed, but it's just like integral. It's in the world. There's nothing that makes it feel like, oh, this was put here for social commentary. And while it can be considered social commentary, it just feels so interwoven in the world. And I think that is B.B. Alston's mad strength, which is just creating a world, and you're sitting here like, oh yeah, for sure, just living in it. Amazing. Truly amazing. Craft-wise, amazing. Amari, again, one of my favorite characters, amazing. The next book, I think I had this for a while, and I'm so upset that I waited so long to read it. It's Pilar Ramirez and the Escape from Zafa. She's a young documentarian, and she wants to tell the story of how her family came to be in the United States in Chicago. Her sister is like, you know, one of the perfect girls. Her sister is very smart, and she's at the university in Chicago. And her sister calls her up one day, and she's like, hey, come meet this professor. He's very interested in talking to you about, you know, what happened to mommy and abuela. And then, so Pilar bites her way and trains her way over to the university to meet up with this professor. And when she gets there, the professor is not in his office. So, of course, any well-meaning child is going to break into said office and see what's going on in there, which she does. So she breaks into his office and ends up falling into the magical world of Zafa, where she finds out a whole lot about her family, about herself, and about this new mystical world. It's amazing. And the reason I like rushed to read it is because I got approved for the second one on NetGalley. And so far the second one is amazing. I wanted to finish it before the new year, but stuff got busy. You know what it is. Continuing the middle grade journey, we are going to follow up with The Marvelous by Dhonielle Clayton. Okay, listen. Dhonielle has created such a beautiful, like, New Orleans, Louisiana-based family. There's so much richness. And of course, it's based on Louisiana Voodoo or Louisiana Voodoo. Using it in this way was so beautiful. It was so beautiful that I just fell in love with the book. I cannot wait for the second one. I cannot wait for the third one. I cannot wait for the fourth one. I hope there's like 8, 9, 10 of these. So she is the first conjurer. So this is, again, based in conjure, root work, voodoo, okay? In this world, conjurers have a, shall we say, bad reputation. It's based in lies, obviously, as things always are. And a lot of people are putting a lot of eyes on her. People are flashing photos of her. People are like interrupting her at her entrance to the ship that is going to take her to the school. It was just so nice to see her family rally around her, and then eventually her friends rally around her. And I'm going to be real with you, this one did actually have me scared by the villain. The villain is actually scary, and I don't expect to be scared in a middle grade novel. So it was surprising to me. There's not a whole lot I can say about this book without spoiling it, and again, construction, I need you to shut up right now. But what I want to say is that this was so fun, and you're going to fall in love with the characters. You're going to want to protect them with your life. Some of the adults are actually useful, so that's fun. Oh, one of my favorite things about this book, Dhonielle drops in a bunch of names of her friends, her authorly friends in this book. Anyway, so yeah, I love this so much. It was so wonderful. I cannot wait for the sequel. Okay, on another one on my bias list of authors that I'm probably always going to be reading. I love this book so much. Valentina Salazar is Not a Monster Hunter by Zoraida Córdova. This book was so funny, and it was kind of sad, but then happy again. This sad. What a freaking inventive world, honestly. So I am a little cryptid kid. I feel like you guys are hearing about me being all kinds of different kids as a child. Creek kid, kid on bike, cryptid kid, okay? This tickled me so deep within my inner child, okay? Valentina is a fun character. Valentina is someone who is kind of... Let me start at the beginning. So at the beginning of this book, we find out that the Salazar family has suffered a major loss in the way of the father being gone. And everyone's kind of dealing with that because they've made a life together as these monster hunters on the road, doing adventures, capturing cryptids, and he is gone one day, and suddenly now they're settling down, they're no longer on the road all the time, and while everyone else seems to be adjusting very well, Valentina is not. She loves being a monster hunter, and she wants the chance to actually be one. You better not be dying. That's what I thought. Anyway, so one day Valentina is confronted by a flame-spitting squirrel while she's at her school, and chaos ensues, obviously. And I really love stories like this where like the older siblings are trying to do right by the young one, and the young one is the one who's inadvertently taking care of everybody else, right? I love stories like that. And it's such a good story. It's such a good story. Zoraida Córdova does it again. She's on this list again for her adult novel that's under her name. But let's move on. So again, Valentina Salazar is not a monster hunter. Please pick it up. Witchlings by Claribel A. Ortega. I love this book so much. I said that about every single book. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning it is because I loved it. I have a whole video on my channel, so I won't take too much time talking about this right now. But what I will say is that this world is so wonderful, whimsical, beautiful, and fun. This is Salazar. Obviously, she's the main character, and she gets put into the spares, and that's like no bueno. Spares are servants in this world. Spares are second, third class citizens. Spares have little rights and no money. And she gets put into that group, and she's like, oh hell no, absolutely not. But these are her other spares, her other spare friends. Together they figure out that it doesn't matter what people call them because they are skilled, they are powerful, and they're going to be powerful together and affect change, and they do. And I find that such a good message for teens and young children, for adults, okay? So I want you guys to go, if you want more information, please go watch my other video that goes more into depth about this, and pick it up for you, pick it up for your child, pick it up for your niece. Just don't tell people you're doing it, I guess. Trauma. Blazewrath Games by Amparo Ortiz. I love Amparo, and I'm mad that it took me this long to read this book. I've had this book on my shelf for like a year and a half before I picked it up, and I'm really glad that I read it this year because now I'm going to read the sequel next year. And Amparo released 2 books in that time. I'm behind. I have the anthology that Amparo put out with a bunch of other authors, but obviously I'm mainly excited for her. Don't tell anybody else. Anyway, Blazewrath Games. This has dragons and like football, okay? Like, that's how you blend it together. It's not a sport, I wouldn't call it a sport book, but it kind of is. Okay, so Lana, in the beginning of this book, is, she's living in Florida with her Caucasian mother. She's half Puerto Rican, half Caucasian. Something happened in Puerto Rico that kind of forced her family to split, and Lana went with her mother, and her father stayed behind in Puerto Rico to continue working with dragons. So Lana is kind of starting the book with this identity crisis of like, She wants to go back to her native Puerto Rico, and she hates being in Florida. Girl, I understand. I also hate Florida. And in that, she really wants to play Blazewrath. But her mother is like, absolutely not, ma'am. You will not be going near dragons again. You will stay away from the dragons. I will hear no mention of mystical creature, okay? And her cousin's really annoying, and he's trying to like fake his way into being a witch, which Lana is also not a witch, but her best friend is. So her annoying cousin kind of like glomps onto her best friend because he wants to be associated with magic and whatnot. That's not the point of this synopsis that I'm giving. Okay, anyway, so Lana ends up turning in forms to try out for the next Blazewrath championships, playing under Puerto Rico. Events occur that result in her kind of being face to face with not only her favorite Blazewrath player, but also a dragon who's trying to kill her. She manages to get out alive. The government, because she was so closely tied to this situation, they want to keep an eye on her. So she ends up making it onto the team even though she missed tryouts. Conspiracy. And then she meets the team for Puerto Rico. Not everybody is as welcoming to her as others. And things go from there. Look, I really liked this book. I thought it was extremely fun. I love any book with dragons. I love any book that just kind of like deals with identity crisis as well. I think that Amparo did a really great job talking about how Lana is, she may be on US soil, but she's still Puerto Rican at heart. And some of the Puerto Ricans are like, oh, you just came to play for us, and then what, you're gonna leave? You're gonna take your money back to Florida? Like, what are you putting back into the island? Like, it was very interesting amidst this magical setting that is still very contemporary. Y'all knew this was gonna pop up on the list. Bloodmarked? Come on. Bloodmarked, obviously the sequel to Legendborn. We are in book 2 of the cycle. Listen to me, guys. I know that you know that I love Legendborn. I know that you know that I love Tracy Deonn. You know that I know. I know that you know that I was gonna love this book. You don't have to love Bloodmarked the same way I love Bloodmarked. You don't have to love Bree the same way I love Bree. But what you're not going to do is take away from the accomplishment of Tracy Deonn. Craft-wise, on point. On a sentence-by-sentence level, Legendborn and Bloodmarked are killing the game when it comes to writing, okay? You can argue about not liking Sal, you can argue about not liking Bree. No, you can't. I take that back. You actually have no foot to stand on there. You can argue about not liking Nicholas. Keep my wife's name out your motherfucking mouth. You will not talk about Tracy Deonn in any disparaging light. I think what I love about Tracy Deonn's writing is that you don't know where the hell we're going. You don't know where this journey is taking you. You just have to strap in and go with it. You have to learn to go with it. And that's what's so fun about this book, because though I had theories, there was no way I was calling some of this stuff at all. I was genuinely shocked, but it all made sense in context. I don't want to be shocked because you pulled something out of your butthole. I want to be shocked because I wasn't paying attention to words on the first read through, and then when I read it through again, I'm suddenly like, oh, you laid this out in chapter 1. Okay, I'm the dumb one. It's me. I'm the problem. And ultimately, that's what I mean. If you can craft something like that, I'm sold forever. I'm sold forever. Line by line, word by word, Tracy Deonn is going toe-to-toe with your favorite wordsmith and winning. I'm sorry. Anyway, I thought the pacing was perfect for me. You don't have to agree with me. Characterization still fit. My boy Cell. This was a drag Cell book, and I didn't hate it. I loved it, in fact. I hate saying this. I hate it. I was so against Breeneck in Legendborn. I had a campaign, okay? I was in the streets shouting from the rooftops that it was Bree Sal, and now I have to eat crow. But here's the thing, I'm always just Team Bree, so it really don't matter. I win regardless. Anyway, highly recommend. You may not know this, but I'm in love with Aiden Thomas. I think Aiden is so fantastical of a person, so wonderful, and so fucking funny. And that showed in this book so much. Cemetery Boys, hilarious. Also had me crying for like the last 20 pages. I was sobbing in Cemetery Boys. This one had its low point. Like, Aiden writes the dark moment of the soul so well that I just break out in tears. This is no different. I was sobbing. I didn't sob for the full last, 20, 30 pages. But I was sobbing when it happened because I was like, oh my god, him the whole time. It was him. The characterization for Teo, for Naya, perfect. Everything's perfect. Perfect. The lore, the in-story lore, amazing. Description. Okay, it was so easy to visualize in my head. It was very cinematic, so I really love this. Basically, in this world, Teo is a young jade god, so lower on the god tier, but he's been selected for this massive game where people can die. And honestly, he's not about it. He doesn't want to do it. But he gets through it and he manages to make his friend Naya and him taking this young man under their wing. Yeah, I really can't say much because now I'm thinking about it and I'm just like, the whole time it was you. Anyway, read it if you want to be emotional. Last but not least, on the upper YA echelon, we have Ryan La Sala. Ryan La Sala, obviously, freaking hilarious. Now, I know what you're thinking. Neeks, was this your first exposure to Ryan La Sala? And the answer is yes, because I didn't read Reverie, despite it being on my to-be-read shelf, which is over here. Don't ask me questions. I don't know how I skipped all of them, but now that I know that Ryan La Sala is freaking amazing in writing as well as on the internet, I'll read it. I don't remember if I did a video for this. I think I definitely did a TikTok for it, but The Honeys follows Mars, who is a gender-fluid teen, and basically, the story starts off with Mars being attempted murdered by his twin sister, who ends up, past tense at the end of that interaction. You feel me? So, basically, Mars and his family, they're very prominent, politically. So his family really looks like they're trying to cover it up, which they've done before for him, and Mars just really wants to be themselves, right? Mars goes by all pronouns, he, she, they. I didn't see mention of any neo-pronouns when I was going through this, for Mars specifically, but I do know that Mars goes by he, she, and they. So it just depends on how they're feeling at the time, which I thought was really interesting to depict, and I loved it. Mars decides that he wants to go to the summer camp that his sister was at before she attempted murdered him, to solve the mystery of what was going on? What was happening? And when he gets there, he finds the Honeys, who are this group of girls that move really well together, seem to know what they're all thinking. They all just work together. Are you getting it? Anyway, amazing horror. Amazing horror. I was terrified. I hybrid read this in a day and a half. That's how compelling it was. And I highly recommend it. Absolutely. Moving into the adult, I'm just going to start with the cozy mystery. I know that I said it was all fantasy and sci-fi, but I'm going to go with cozy mystery. Blackmail and Babinka. I did have a whole video for this, so this is going to be really short. We are back with the Macapagal family. Lila is into trouble once again. It was really fun. It was really cozy. I love the family aspect every single fucking time. I also tried to make Babinka, and it came out wrong the first time and right the second time. Holla! We have by Silvia Moreno-Garcia, the daughter of Dr. Moreau. This book, I didn't know what to expect. I mainly got this because the cover was pretty, but I'm really glad that I got it. I have never read the actual tale that this is twisting, remixing, redoing, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't, because it was very interesting and spooky, and the ending was, I was just what? So what can I say about I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. A young woman growing up on a remote and luxuriant estate, safe from the conflict and strife of the Yucatan Peninsula, the only daughter of a researcher who is either a genius or a madman. Montgomery Lawton, a melancholic overseer with a tragic past and a propensity for alcohol, an outcast who assists Dr. Moreau with his experiments, which are financed by the Lizaldes, owners of the magnificent haciendas and plentiful coffers. And then there's the hybrids. So basically, this is the story of a man doing science and out with his daughter, who he refuses to let do science, and they get a new overseer, and the overseer is a drunk, but he likes his work there. He likes the hybrids that he's interacting with. He likes Carlotta maybe a little too much, and Carlotta does not like him. She wants a life of luxury. She wants a good husband, and that's simply not the alcoholic, much older man that's come to oversee her father's estate in Hacienda. A lot of stuff happens in this book that I did not expect, from murder to absolutely heartbreak. I wasn't expecting it. I loved it. Silvia Moreno-Garcia is a wonderful writer. I don't know how to get you on to her if you are not already a fan. This could be a good start. Honestly, I would advise you read Mexican Gothic. If that was one of my favorite Silvia Moreno-Garcia's books, but my first introduction to her was Gods of Jade and Shadow. So I don't know if I'd recommend this be your first exposure to her writing, only because I think Mexican Gothic does represent her a lot better. So that's my opinion. It was still amazing and I still recommend it. And we're back to Zoraida Córdova with her adult debut under this name, specifically with the inheritance of Ortega Divina. I loved this book. It's very family saga. I love a family saga, and I love that this all centered around this family coming together around a grandma who like had such a colorful and secretive past. This is so fun. I think people are always shocked by this book because Zoraida typically writes in YA under her name and writes steamy romance under Zoe Castile. And this wasn't a steamy romance. This was very much an adult magical realism family saga that easily handled multiple people and multiple points of view and their experiences. And this was such a showcase of her talent as a writer. I feel like when authors write in YA, in the YA age group for a really long time, people start discounting them and their skill level. But Zoraida has such a command with words. There's a reason she's like published 19 books at this point, with many more that came out after this came out that I don't even have on my shelves yet because of money. But let's ignore that. This blew me out of the water. I loved her YA fantasy work. I love her comic book work. But I'm telling you right now, this had me gripped from page one. This had me. And it kept me. And I loved it. So I really want to recommend this because I hope that Zoraida keeps writing in the adult space. And I know she is, but I want more. I want her to go and do everything that she wants to do. Much like with Tracy Deonn, if Zoraida writes it, I'm gonna just enjoy the ride. Point blank period. So I highly recommend Orquídea de Vida. It's a beautiful family saga. Just do it. Listen to me. I'm gonna humble brag for just a moment, okay? Annie Davenport's The Blood Child. Akenna is my everything. But what I want to humble brag about is that Annie Davenport, she was doing mentorship for Pit Mad one year. I submitted to her. She actually read my whole manuscript and she liked it, and that was like draft 3. So I'm on draft 7, bitch. Imagine how good my book is now. And the fact of the matter is that Nia liked it. So if you want to read my book, just know that Nia Davenport liked it. I will hear no arguments after that. That's encouragement. Encouragement. Anyway, let me talk about her actual book. Akenna Amari is my favorite badass heroine at the moment, okay? This the type of bitch who, if you look at her sideways, she's just gonna punch you. There was no conversation, there was no talking down, there was nothing. There was just straight violence and then questions after, and I love that about her. Akenna finds out her grandfather, first she thought that her grandfather just like died. Then she finds out that he may have been murdered, and she says, absolutely not. I cannot wait for the blood gift. Please, Lord, accept me on that galley. But Akenna Amari, that's that girl. That's my girl. That's my girl. Okay, and finally the book that I took forever to read and still have to read the other books in the series, Le Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Now, hold on. Harper Voyager. Okay, all I can really say is that I read this book this year. Oh, shit. Okay, before I release this video, I'm going to go back and figure out which of these books is published by Harper Collins. There's a strike going on. Please understand, I would love to talk to you about how much I love this book. However, because Harper Collins' union strike has been going on for over 30 days, I will not be talking about anything from that company at this point. It's been over 30 days. They have refused to come to the table. The CEO makes like hand over fist of money every single year, and the employees are simply asking for a livable wage. I did read this book, and I did like it, but I won't be talking about it. And you know what's worse? Everyone's trying to talk about Babel right now, another R.F. Kuang book. And my girl was out on the front lines. Out on the front line, knowing her books are tied to Harper Collins. Knowing this. An icon, truly, an icon, R.F. Kuang. And you know what? I shouldn't be surprised. Everything she writes about is like tearing down the establishment. Yes! Those are books that I recommend from the list of books that I read in 2022. I love y'all. I wish you a happy new year, babes. Let's get it.